Hi, I'm an employed pissed and campaign for liberty. Last year, you were the person in the whole state of Oregon that caused the most damage to America and Oregon. We passed a bill to give a complete audit of the Federal Reserve last year in the House of Representatives. And when it went to the Senate, you and Senator Bob Cocker concocted a distraction with that bill and destroyed a complete audit of the Federal Reserve. I do not want to be here today, but you are not aware of the anger of the people. You think you know what is better for them. The Tea Party is in existence because of you and Senator Bob Cocker. Dick Cheney once said at a Council of Foreign Relations meeting that you and the media corporations, thank you for the media corporations for not shining the light on the New World Order, or they would have never been able to achieve their goals. Well, the information age has come to the people. We all can bring light to the corruption now. We need you to get smart and join with us. I have petitions here of your constituents to audit the Federal Reserve. We want you to sign Rand Paul's bill S-202. Thank you. Will you sign that?
Probably not. Let me tell you that it's a bit ironic, since I was the person who made the committee calling for an audit of the Federal Reserve, and indeed got an amendment adopted for auditing the Federal Reserve, and then supported a stronger amendment by Bernie Sanders to audit the Federal Reserve. And so maybe you should be talking to folks who oppose the audit of the Federal Reserve instead of supporting it.
Welcome to Freedom Watch, your daily dose of raw liberty, streaming online at foxnews.com. I'm your host, Judge Andrew Napolitano, here defending freedom, defending your natural rights, and defending your right to have a government that stays within the confines of the Constitution. Congressman Ron Paul's bill to audit the Federal Reserve is not only gaining enormous momentum, it's being joined by additional legislation introduced by Senators Jeff Merkley, Democrat of Oregon, and Bob Corker, Republican from Tennessee. But their version waters down Congressman Paul's bill, omits audits of important areas of the Fed's behavior, and actually whites out proper names of banks and other individuals. What kind of an audit is that? While all this is going on, a so-called conservative Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina says he won't let Congressman Paul, quote, hijack the Republican Party. Here we go again. It's now my pleasure to introduce the object of Senator Graham's wrath, one of America's great defenders of freedom and liberty today. Congressman Ron Paul joins us from our nation's capital. He is, of course, the author of the New York Times bestseller, End the Fed. Congressman Paul, welcome back to Freedom Watch. I guess it was
good to be with you.
Thank you. I guess it was too good to be true to expect that a lot of liberal Democrats would be serious in their efforts of joining you in wanting to audit the Fed. What the heck are they trying to do in the Senate? What kind of an audit would it be if important parts of what the Fed does is not covered in the audit, and if they don't give the proper names of the people with whom the Fed does business?
It doesn't do any good at all. I mean, maybe slight, but under the condition of canceling out what we're doing, yes, it would be quite harmful to us. But, Corker, I believe, is a Republican that's doing it. And I wouldn't write off all the Democrats in the House because they're not running the show. I think what this is representing is the effort by the establishment, Wall Street, by Goldman Sachs, by the Federal Reserve, saying, look, let's distract them from what a real audit would do. And I think that's what's going on right now. But we will not back down. We're going to demand that it be a full, honest audit of the Federal Reserve, or we shouldn't accept it.
You know, there's a couple ways to look at this. I remember when you were a lone voice in the Congress, almost literally standing totally alone in arguing that we all need an audit of the Fed. You now have more than half of your colleagues on your side. That's an enormous stride, and it's due totally to your single-minded dedication and, I might add, explanation to your colleagues and to the country of the need for auditing the Fed. That's the good side. The bad side is they're afraid of an audit, and they've gotten their allies in Congress to try and water it down. So it will look like they're going along with the audit, but the fruits of their audit will be bitter and tasteless and dry and not revealing anything.
That's right, and it would be a distraction if anybody becomes satisfied with this. I think the most important part of my bill, and the one area that the Fed seems to be most resistant to, is this opening up of the books to what they do with other governments, other central banks, and international financial organizations. I think that's where the real shenanigans go on, and they don't want to have any part of this, so they're going to pretend that they're going to open up these lending facilities to some degree and say, oh yeah, we're finding out where this money went, you know, domestically, and maybe we will find out a little bit more information, but that won't touch the foreign operations, because when you think about it, when you can make a deal and promise money and loans to foreign central banks to get involved in the market and do some of your dirty work, I think they're propping up markets, and who knows what kind of mischief they're involved in. So I think they are very, very determined to stop what we're trying to do and get these books open. But the more they obstruct, the more attention we're going to get, and the more the people of this country will realize how necessary this audit is.
And when it went to the Senate, you and Senator Bob Cocker concocted the distraction with that bill and destroyed a complete audit of the Federal Reserve.
And then, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your testimony. I know there's been a lot of discussion about an audit, if you will, of the Fed, and I hope that you'll do everything you can to make sure the Fed maintains its independence. I realize it sounds like to me there may have been some agreement as to what ought to take place as it relates to an audit, but I can't imagine a greater catastrophe for our country, for folks like us sitting up here or the administration to be getting involved unduly in monetary policy. So I urge you to do everything you can to stay independent and hope that we will enable that to happen. I appreciate the message on CRE, commercial real estate.
And so maybe you should be talking to folks who oppose the audit of the Federal Reserve instead of supporting it. There is one feature that I did oppose that was in the bill proposed from the House side, and that was immediate disclosure of transactions. And the reason why is that the discount window is part of our banking system in which banks go to make loans from and then lend to small businesses and lend to families. But they go there when they're stressed. And if, according to all the economists who are testifying, if that was disclosed immediately, you would create a run on the bank, which would hurt everybody. And so that was the feature that needs to be chewed on and worked out. But I encourage you to take a look at Bernie Sanders' work on this.
Why do we care about banks? What hurts me when a bank goes under? I really don't care.
Well, two things. First, I want to invite folks to ask one question so everybody can get their questions in. But second, that's kind of relevant, so I'll follow up on it. But here's the thing. Within our society, the economy has a process to aggregate and allocate capital. And call it banking or call it investment funds or call it whatever you want. But I can tell you that for small businesses across this country, access to credit is the way they seize business opportunities. If they don't have access to credit and can't seize that opportunity, they can't expand their employment. And if we want high unemployment, then banks don't matter. But lending does work in partnership with small businesses to create jobs. And this is why I offered the Small Business Lending Fund, because I proceeded to get feedback at these town meetings with lots of small business folks saying credit is frozen, and we are having a hard time refinancing our either an investment in a building that had a balloon loan or getting funds to take on a business opportunity that we can employ people. And so I had my team look through and hold a lot of interviews and try to find what is the key thing that could be done. And they came back with a plan in which we would recapitalize healthy community banks so they could do more loans on Main Street, because the banks were hitting the limit on leverage as restricted by regulators. Those leverage limits exist for a reason. This was created. We did get it passed in a bipartisan fashion. It can free up to about $300 billion of lending across this country, and hopefully those loans to small business will help our economy get back on track.